Today on the CTV News at 5,
Padre nostro.
the Catholic Church chooses a new pope. Plus, will a Claresholm man stand trial in the murder of a Vulcan senior? And high school students across the city give the gift of life.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. After just 2 days of voting, the world's Catholics now have a new leader, Pope Francis. Nearly everything about this papal conclave will go down in the history books, from the resignation of Benedict to the first ever Latin American Pope and his very first tweet. Marcia Gonzalez watched it all unfold.
Habemus Papa.
The moment much of the world has been anxiously awaiting, the newly elected Pope appearing on the balcony above St. Peter's Square, Argentina's Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio taking the name Pope Francis. The first Pope ever from Latin America.
Argentinian, but with an Italian name. Nice. And this is something that makes it a bridge between the worlds. And I think that makes it easier for both sides to have a new world pope. This is a very big deal.
Pope Francis praying,
Padre nostro.
greeting the emotional crowd below. People from across the globe who so patiently watched and waited to see this. White smoke billowing from the chimney atop the Sistine Chapel, along with the tolling bells. An announcement to the world: the conclave is over. A new leader of the Roman Catholic Church is elected.
Well, it's a huge moment for the Catholic Church. It's a tradition that goes back to the time of St. Peter. The Pope has a great effect on the lives of everyday Catholics.
His papal name chosen at the moment he accepted the papacy, a choice given much thought and offering great insight.
The choice of name is very significant because it conveys a lot about what the papal program is going to be, or how he sees himself.
Now his old life as a cardinal ends, and a new life leading the church begins. And like St. Francis, Pope Francis is known as being passionate about the poor. Back in Argentina, he lived an extraordinarily humble life, riding the bus, living in a tiny apartment. But now he won't be returning to that home. He'll move directly into his new apartment in the Apostolic Palace. Marcia Gonzalez, ABC News, Rome.
In Lethbridge, members of the Catholic community say it'll be new and interesting to have a pope from South America. Father Kevin Tumbach of the All Saints Parish says it's somewhat surprising because most people weren't expecting a pope from South Africa. But he says it's exciting to have a pope from Argentina, which has the largest Catholic population in the world.
You know, where he comes from is not exactly a wealthy area, and there's a lot of poverty and impoverishment, and so we might see a greater emphasis in the church on social justice and solidarity with the poor, which is not a bad thing. But it's going to be interesting to see where his spirituality takes us and where the emphasis is going to be over the next few years.
Father Tumbach says it's also exciting because they've never had a Pope Francis before. Okay, Dory Rossiter, let's talk about those seasonal temperatures that you said were coming on the way.
Yeah, actually below seasonal is what's coming. Seasonal, I know, it gets worse. Seasonal is around 6 degrees in the Lethbridge area for daytime highs. We surpassed that today. We got to 14 degrees at noon, and that was our daytime high. We stayed there for a few hours. And then we are going to slide down into the minus numbers as we head in towards the weekend. We've got some precipitation on the way. A whole series of low pressure centers are moving across. They're not massive ones, but the one on Sunday is a little bigger than the advanced system. So I'll tell you all about that in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. Well, the man charged in the murder of a Vulcan senior has been committed to stand trial on charges of first-degree murder and indignity to a human body. 36-year-old Timmy Engel agreed by consent to go to trial following a 3-day preliminary hearing in Lethbridge Provincial Court. Engel is charged with killing this man, 77-year-old Otto Bunty Luce, in January of 2012. The retired farmer went missing from his home in the Vulcan area. His remains were found near Claresholm a few days later. The Crown called 16 witnesses during the hearing, which wrapped up this afternoon. Among them were Engel's former girlfriend, Bobby Jo Parks, and members of the RCMP Major Crimes Unit who created a video reenactment of the crime. Engel returns to court April 8th to set a trial date. And a former Lethbridge woman has been sentenced to 10 months behind bars after stealing almost $80,000 from Winners Bingo. Tanya Husband admitted to stealing the money while she worked for the organization in 2011. She says that she took the money to support a man that she met online. Husband sent the money to Malaysia after getting a call that her online love was in jail. She later discovered that it was a scam. Husband must also repay all of the money that she stole. Well, some very disheartening news for the Canadian who's been on death row in the U.S. for the past 30 years. A bill to repeal capital punishment in Montana and replace it with life in prison has failed to get past a judiciary committee for the second time and has been tabled. Ronald Smith has been facing execution since he admitted to the murders of two cousins near East Glacier, Montana in 1982. The former Red Deer man has a request for clemency before Montana's governor. The sound of music is echoing across the city this month. The Lethbridge and District Kiwanis Music and Speech Arts Festival is in full swing. There are more than 5,500 performers taking part this year, from young vocalists, musicians, and actors to school choirs, ensembles, and bands. There are hundreds of events held at 6 different venues until March the 23rd. More than $16,000 in awards will be presented, and the top performers will appear in the Stars of the Festival concert. It takes place April the 17th at the Yates Centre. A University of Lethbridge student diagnosed with leukemia at just 15 years of age is celebrating the one-year anniversary of being told that she is cancer-free. This as Lethbridge High School students from across the city are launching a blood drive to help save the lives of patients like her. Jeanette Rocher reports.
Going to go a long way and help a lot of people.
Yeah, anytime.
19-year-old Taylor Robinson understands firsthand the importance of giving blood. 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with leukemia and underwent intense chemotherapy for 9 months, then spent more than 2 years in monthly therapy during her recovery.
So I didn't get to see my friends or family that often. I was very isolated, so that was really tough.
In her first few months of treatment, Taylor needed 80 to 90 blood transfusions to help her survive. That's equivalent to nearly 100 people rolling up their sleeves to donate.
There's no way I would be alive today if it wasn't for blood donors and what they've done for me.
The biggest thing that people don't understand is the blood we're collecting today will be transfused into a patient within 5 days. There is a constant need for us to replenish the blood source.
During the month of March, 4 local high schools are on a mission to get at least 550 people down here to the Canadian Blood Services to donate blood.
I think that it's a really great way to give back to the community, and donating blood, it doesn't take that much time. So you can come into the clinic in an hour and you can save lots of lives just by doing this one simple task.
Students from Chinook, CCH, LCI, and Winston Churchill are rallying their teachers, parents, alumni, and staff to give blood for the 13th annual Lethbridge High School Blood Donor Challenge. The schools are competing against each other to see who can bring in the highest amount of blood donors. And if they succeed, it could mean the difference between life and death for someone like Taylor.
We're getting a second chance at life because of what blood donors are doing for us.
Jeanette Rocher, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Well, cancer fundraisers are quite common these days, but University of Lethbridge student Steve Firth has come up with a different idea. His year-long campaign is called Kilt Up for Cancer. Firth is hoping Southern Albertans will take the high road and show their support as he shows off his Scottish heritage and his legs to support the fight against cancer. Terry Vogt reports.
It was made for me on my 16th birthday.
Steve Firth is proud of his family history and proud of his Scottish heritage. So it seemed obvious to him that one way to raise awareness about male-related cancers would be to wear a kilt.
Everybody looks at a kilt and thinks, oh, there goes a guy in a skirt. Well, that's kind of weird. Why is he doing that? Well, if I'm wandering around trying to raise awareness of something, then the best thing to do is to stand out like a sore thumb.
Firth was born and educated in the UK, but is now living in Lethbridge and taking philosophy at the U of L. And he's planning an event-filled undergraduate year by organizing a dozen events, one each month, including a Scottish rock music gig, a tartan golf day, a plaid movie night, and kilting in the coulees. They're all part of Kilt Up for Cancer, a campaign to bring attention to the high occurrence of cancer in men.
I have a grandfather that was diagnosed with prostate cancer probably a couple of months ago. My uncle has just died this week of cancer. I have a very close friend who has prostate cancer.
And so, by simply donning a kilt, Steve hopes that he can get southern Alberta's Scottish community behind an important cause while celebrating their heritage.
I'm looking forward to giving people an excuse to wear a kilt.
The official launch will take place this Friday at the University of Lethbridge. There'll be bagpipes, of course, and Steve will kick off the campaign and his pants and don a kilt for 366 days.
The bad things are probably going to be the 3 foot of snow and the howling winds that we get. So, summer's going to be fun, winter's going to be not so much fun.
By the way, Steve won't be wearing the same kilt every day. Extras are en route now from the UK. Terry Vogt, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Steve and the U of L are also discussing a fundraising competition to design a tartan for the university. But first, they need to get permission from the Scottish Tartan Authority. And the University of Lethbridge is getting a boost for brain research. The late Dr. Harley Hotchkiss has left a $1 million legacy gift to the U of L's Canadian Centre for Behavioral Neuroscience. It studies areas like brain injury, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease. Students at Agnes Davidson Elementary School have been doing some hands-on learning in recent weeks, and today they had a chance to show off their projects. The school is holding its Science and Heritage Fair. Judging got underway this morning. 145 projects are on display in the school gym. The students exploring everything from the solar system to volcanoes, whales, and how plants respond to air, water, and light. Educators say science fairs help to promote creativity, innovation, communication, and critical thinking skills among children. And of course, they learn some interesting things too.
One day on Mars is longer than one day on Earth. We picked endangered animals because, well, we really wanted to learn about them and how we can help them.
It was really hard to build. I had to paint it, and my dad did most of it.
Ooh, you do learn interesting things. Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield now has the top job in space. For the first time, a Canadian has taken charge of the International Space Station. 53-year-old veteran Hadfield took over from American Kevin Ford this afternoon. Hadfield is almost 3 months into his 5-month tour with the ISS. Since his arrival in late December, Hadfield has been taking spectacular photos of the world beneath him and posting them on social media. The native of Sarnia, Ontario, now has over 500,000 followers on Twitter. Coming up after the break, Dory's going to tell us what we can expect in terms of those seasonal temperatures, she says, that are on the way. First, the markets.